Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and we are still getting set up. Sorry for there. As usual, I am on somebody else's schedule that is not my own. I have a family member in the hospital, so I'm operating around the doctor's schedule instead of my own schedule, as per usual. Let me get our messages set up so I can see all of them. Try and get that going. Good. If anybody would throw me a comment really quick, let me know if the sound is okay and if everything is going well. Frank is already online. Yo, Frank. Frank, how is my sound? Is my sound going okay? Wait a second here and we'll see if anybody responds. Thank you guys. Yeah, my family is notorious for medical problems. That's why I'm so interested in health and fitness. One of the things that I'm always trying to solve is basic things for people in my family's economic situation. It started out, my mother was a coach for handicapped kids, equestrian therapy, using horses to moving, teach them how to move in a different way. Interaction with horses tends to help a lot of people, like interaction with giant dogs, the same way. But I am always trying to solve a specific set of problems for people of a certain economic class. And I'm always trying to design problems to solve problems that people don't even know that they have or that they don't know that they need to solve, which is always an issue. Sound is legit, sound is good, sound is good. Video is a little laggy. I'm sorry, I don't think I can help with the video lag right now, but yes. So we're going to continue to work on that, but this is the best we can do for today. I'm sorry about that, guys. Richard has an autistic son and he loves riding horses. We dealt with a lot of autistic children in my youth. I grew up on equestrian therapy horse farm. Some of the people didn't have legs. Some of the people were paralyzed. We did have entire class sections that were devoted to autistic children, which is why I'm so big on learning theory individually. If you can teach an autistic kid something, you can teach anybody something, which is not the way that normal people coach. Normal people don't coach with the idea that they're talking to somebody who might have a different way of learning. What do they call those? Neuro non-typicals is the new word that people use for that. Neuro non-typical people need to learn in different ways, whether it be through physical action, repeated learning patterns, and the sound good, picture blocky. Sorry, guys, I can't do anything about that right now. Apparently, this is the best we're going to get right now. Yeah, let's see here. We have a better background that's not terrifying. Not really. This is as good as we're going to get for today. We have done a couple of different things recently with videos. We're trying to branch out in some other things that I find interesting. I don't know. You guys tell me if that's a good idea or not. I did a box opening video for one of my favorite companies of knives yesterday. Some people loved it. Some people said that they were going to unfollow me because they don't like knives, which I think is hilarious. I like to talk about this as the idea of the 5 C's of civilization, which are the 5 C's of survivability, which are, cutting tools, combustion sources, containers, cover, and cordage. And if you originally, I learned them as the 5 C's of survivability, but I think of them as the 5 C's of civilization because no civilization survives without those things. And if you go to any museum in the world and you look at any culture in all of human history, those are the 5 things that are in the museum to represent that culture. Textiles, urns, jars, clay pots, the way that people made clay pots and things throughout history is totally fascinating to me, and I am that type of nerd. Cutting tools, one of my favorite cutting tool exhibits is at the British Museum in the center of London. 12-inch long stone cutting tools, which are so finely shaped that it absolutely blows your mind that somebody could do something like that with a piece of wood and a rock. I think all of that stuff is fascinating. I would like to keep making some basic videos about that stuff, but everybody tell me whether or not that is a good idea. I think that all of these concepts are related. I tend to make videos more geared toward what I consider to be the common man, people who are not rich, who are not of a high economic class, who grew up, more like me, people in the farming or the working class, and like, what do they really need? We start with fitness, what I think is the most important things of fitness, and I'm always trying to answer that economic equation for people who don't have access to giant gyms, $1 million programs, tons of equipment. Like, what can you do with something that's very durable that you can leave in the barn for 5 years? Simple stuff, kettlebells, clubs, things that don't go bad. I literally had a friend who had a cabin in the California mountains, and they had 50 kettlebells there. They love kettlebells. They spend all of their spare money on kettlebells because they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't eat any type of fancy food. They live a very basic, close to the earth life. And a giant wildfire swept through and burned everything to the ground. The only thing that were left were kettlebells. And I was like, that is a good sign. That is what I want to talk about in training, things that are so durable that they can't possibly go bad and that they are usable forever, even after they've been set on fire. Timothy Fodge, let's get started here. Fodge, Dodge, starts with an F, Fodge, Timothy Fodge. I'm gonna say Timothy Fodge. He is a contractor working on starting with the basic kettlebell movements with a 16K. Do you ever hold off workouts when you know you have a physically demanding day of work ahead of you? I don't. I might cut them down, but I don't stop them. Because you're always, as a contractor, you are always going to have physically demanding days. And as a contractor, those days are usually super long. Like, the idea of an 8-hour day to a contractor is absolutely insane. You tend to be out of the house by 6:30 or 7. And in the summer, you tend to be like on set from 7 to 6 or something like that, 10, 11-hour days, or at least I was when I did contracting specifically for roofing. You wanted to get there while it was still cool so you could get all the shingles up on the roof or whatever before it got to be 1,000 degrees. And then you spent that middle part of the day working on the roof, and then you had that tear down part at night where you were cleaning up or whatever. And usually tear down started at 5, or a cleanup started at 5, and you would spend the next hour to hour and a half, maybe even to 7 p.m. cleaning up to prepare for the next day. In the summer, we worked 12 hours, and then I would go home and do some type of small workout to make myself feel better. As I got older, I got smarter, and I started doing it in the morning. And if you can even fit in 10 minutes of kettlebell swings in the morning, or 10 minutes of something like Mace 360s in the morning, it will drastically improve your quality of life. But if you're a contractor and it's summertime, you are not going to be doing those big hour-long workouts, because usually your job involves a lot of loading, unloading things, usually trucks. If you're the lead contractor, you're always going to the lumber yard and you're stacking up, and then you come back and then you spend 45 minutes unloading stuff and getting it to wherever it needs to be. If it's the early part of the project, it's the first floor. As that project goes on, it gets up to the roof and you got to start putting up the rafters and everything else. But as a contractor, I would think that your workouts are less about building pure overall conditioning and endurance, and they are about fundamentally reinforcing good movement patterns that you will break by driving from job site to job site back and forth, because you spend, God knows where your job site is. And like, I was working out west last year, and the job site's an hour and a half away each way. So you wake up, you work out, you do a little bit of stretch, you get in the car for that hour and a half, then you get to the job site, then you move all the heavy stuff. But that workout in the morning is there to reinforce good movement patterns and to wake yourself up before you get to the job site. So of course you should be focusing on your fundamentals of kettlebell swings, kettlebell clean and press, and club program. Club program, I think, is the most important thing. That's why I talk about it all the time. Reinforcing that rotational movement pattern, because every time you're lifting something in contracting, it's almost never a straight line. And you're always lifting things at these weird angles, picking up 4x8 sheets and carrying them distance or up, or passing them straight up overhead. I think rotational stuff is super important for contractors. So I wouldn't cut the program, I would cut it down. That is one of the reasons I put in short time period options. Like in the swing program, there is a 10-minute option. There's a 15-minute option. And the club program we currently have out is a 20-minute program. I haven't written or put out any long programs yet because I think people will do better with multiple short programs. And if they have more time, they can stack them on top of each other. You could do 10 minutes of swings, followed by the 20-minute club program if you had more time. But if you have a small amount of time, which most people who work for a living do, especially in the summer, then there should be short options. Thank you, Mr. Fodge. Sorry, sir, I'm mispronouncing your name, Timothy Fodge. Luke, that knife video is cool. Made me want to get a rat knife. You should get a rat knife. I think that they're great. I had somebody jump in the comment section and say that they didn't trust my opinion and that rat knives suck. I don't believe that person. I've dragged my Rat 6 all over the world. It did at one point process an entire cow off of the ranch. Granted, I had to sharpen it 3 times throughout that, but that is a lot of cutting, and you should always have a sharpening stone with you on something like that. It is a good all-around knife. I wanted to make that video because I consider that particular rat knife to be like one of the best overall designs. I would be curious what people think are other good knife designs. The super poor man version is the old hickory 7-inch butcher knife, which is, $14. That is one of my favorite knives, and you can kind of pimp that out in different ways, change the handle shape, polish up the blade in different ways, and make it very last of the Mohican. The 7-inch old hickory butcher knife is one of the original butcher knives designs that were traded across the frontier, the English butcher knife, and they go all throughout history. I just snagged one at a barn sale a couple months back. It's like a 12-inch blade that's like probably, I don't know, it's very old. I can't figure out where it's from, but I love that thing, and that's one of those items that you can't possibly do without. Something like a butcher knife is a kitchen knife, and it is super useful. If you're thinking about poor man or common man fitness, common man preparedness, as I think of all of these things being related to each other, having a good kitchen knife is something that's very important to me. I also have an Opinel that I got in Germany, which is very much like the exact same knife that was traded by the French across the early American frontier. It's a 7-inch blade with like a 7-inch French kitchen knife. And that one goes with me when I travel around the world. Because when you travel around the world, you oftentimes are in a hotel for long periods of time, and you can either just eat whatever junk food they give you on set, which is not a good strategy after a couple months. You do get very sick of that. So I carry a good kitchen knife with me in my bag with those flexible cutting boards, and we can make videos about all of this stuff if people want to see that. If you guys want to see that after this live is over, get back in the comment section of this after it posts and say, yes, I would like to see that, or no, I would not like to see that. That I think is something that's very good if you're trying to maintain your health while traveling. A good kitchen knife of some type, a good knife so you can cut your own vegetables and do your own things. And those flexible cutting boards, they go in the back of all of my backpacks, and they end up acting like a backboard in each one of my backpacks that I have set up for different things. They make your bag slightly stiffer so you can carry the load more comfortably, like the cheapest possible frame ever, and you can pull them out, use them to cut up vegetables, put them back in your bag after you wash them. And I think that that's a great idea. I don't know how many people think that that's a great idea, but I think that that's a great idea if you're trying to maintain a semi-good level of eating while you're traveling. The 5Cs are a nice addition to the basic human stuff you did a while ago. Yeah, I think so. I think that the 5Cs of civilization are an excellent thing, and I don't think people think about that enough, but I do think that that is part of health and fitness, 100%. If you don't have a cutting tool to process your own food wherever you are in the world, then you are at the mercy of fast food, and being at the mercy of fast food is a great way to have your health crash through the floor very quickly. Dale Everdale. Great name, Dale Everdale. Fantastic name. I have a heavy club focused program. I've regressed on mill so that I can catch up with reverse mill. I do equal parts now on mill day. How, when should I structure my shield cast? Single and double. On other days. So if you're doing your mill and reverse mill, you should do equal number of those, and you should do those twice a week. You should do reverse mill because it causes you to rotate this weird outside rotation that really helps people improve the mobility of their spine. But then if you're working on your shield cast, I would say shield cast should be a slightly heavier weight, and I would do it on 2 other days. So that would be an A-B cycle. A cycle, Monday, Thursday, mill, reverse mill. B cycle, shield cast or double shield cast on Tuesday, Friday. I would combine that shield cast either with inside circles and outside circles, or I would combine it with something like clean and press or swing or deck squat. You can shove so much stuff into the shield cast day. But if you're doing shield cast, that probably a great way to do it would be to do single arm clean and press or double clean and press in some type of squat. And then that would really stack up to work out very, very well in a short period of time. Gull Decat. Gull, man, you guys have great names. You're exactly right. They're all related. It's all part of the Wildman experience, as it were. Become a basic human. Yes, I think that most of the education in the modern world is not teaching people to be basic humans. People no longer have an ability to understand how their body works or how to maintain it. And that extends to your environment around you. So yes, I would love to start talking about the 5 C's of civilization if everybody is cool with that. Justin McKay thinks that gear videos are a good idea. Okay, I can talk about backpacks, boots, and travel stuff forever. I travel a lot, so I have lots of stuff shoved into a small idea. You know, workout equipment to stay healthy, food equipment, stuff like that. Colin Clifford, have you ever heard of Bushcraft? Yes, I have. I did grow up basically in the forest in the back of a horse farm. I lived way out, the furthest person away from town in my school district for the entire school district. I was the last guy out there. I grew up on a horse farm and I grew up with dogs. I didn't really know how to talk to people till I was like 22 because I grew up with dogs and horses in the forest. And back then we just called it, doing camping stuff. And I grew up with copies of the old muzzle loader magazine books from the 70s, from kind of that early original Back to the Land movement, which was fun. So we did things like we made bows, we made arrows, we made atlatls, we made shelters. I originally started with the Boy Scout folding knife, much like an old timer knife. It had a long blade, a short blade, the can opener thing, the awl, things like that. And I progressed up through that. And my dad was an Eagle Scout back in the 50s and the 60s. So we would do a lot of stuff like camping with just a wool blanket and a knife and a canteen. And we would go out in the snow and we made our own clothes, which is, nobody does anymore. But we took wool blankets and made clothes and then went out into the woods at night and did overnight trips out in the forest in 2 feet of snow with nothing but wool blankets and a knife. Super fun way to grow up. I have a lot of weird skills that I don't know if anybody has anymore, but they all kind of come from books like magazine, like The Backwoodsman, which is like a common man bushcraft magazine that's been around for years. Traditional Archer, which was like the style of archery we did, handmade arrows, handmade points. I don't think I've ever bought a broadhead in my life. I've just made all the broadheads out of spare metal with tin snips, which is kind of a weird thing, but I don't think anybody else does that. But it is super fun. Dale Childress. Hey, Dale. Ordered a cold steel bat and cold steel knife on your suggestion. They are fantastic. I think the cold steel bats are absolutely fantastic, and I have one right here. These are one of the best training tools I have ever seen. I love these things. because you can swing machetes at them and nothing cuts through them. They'll get chewed up in the center. But I have a whole series of things where you block with a baseball bat. I originally designed these for some female actresses, and we called them the Harley Quinn drills, where they would block with bats against real things that were psychologically terrifying. So they learned that they actually had to do it. Lean forward, line your legs up in warrior stance, learn to block a real sharp machete coming at you that's being swung at your head, not away from your head, at your head. They block, they turn, and they would hit a target, and then we would move the target, and we would do attack drills from different directions so that people learn to turn, to face, which is an idea that you hear a lot in something like Krav Maga. You learn to block. Learning to block is easier with something that's not your body in the beginning. Most people can't block with their arms. It's too hard on them in the beginning, and they need to go through arm conditioning drills. So before they do something like arm conditioning drills, we have them learn to do block with things like baseball bats, and then turn and hit. We're building those fundamental core human movement ideas. Defend, turn around and hit something. And then we hit targets like hanging heavy bags, or we put heavy bags on the ground horizontally so that you can do either horizontal attacks from left or right with both left and right hand high, both left leg and right leg forward. So there's almost 8 versions right there of moving to a target. And then we put obstacles in the way, and then we also have them strike objects on the ground, and then we change the order of all those things. It's one of the most fantastic drills to get people to embrace their core human athleticism in the least amount of time. That is, this is what we covered at the seminar that I just taught with Summer Huntington like 3 weeks ago. We have other of those seminars coming up at the end of July. It will once again be at FlowShala on, I believe it's July 28th, and I believe it's another 3-day seminar. We're going to do the same thing over again. We are going to do, what we do is we start with wood staffs that are meant to break. So people can learn, the staff breaks instead of their body, essentially. And then we'll move to cold steel staffs and baseball bats. And then later in the year, I would like to move to a 5-day version of that seminar, which would be just absolutely amazing. The amount of change you can get out of somebody in 2.5 days is neurologically permanent. You cannot forget it at the end of that. If we push that idea for 5 days, I think it can absolutely change people's life and brain forever, because we reinstitute all those basic human skills. If you want to survive that 5 days, then you need to be doing a lot of kettlebell and clubbing leading up to it. And we should probably make some videos on doing some striking drills with the baseball bat. I think we did 10 of them with the cold steel staff a couple of months ago with my friend Amina, but I've lost all concept of time. And I do not know how long ago we did those videos, but I would like to make 100 of those videos, because there are hundreds of these drills that I design. And eventually I would like to turn it into like a big course, like a Krav Maga instructor training course, like one of the Maysapes from Australia. He's in Israel right now doing another Krav Maga instructor course. I would like to do a version of that that's all based on weapons, and where we run through every type of turn and step that people will do in these situations, and then build a whole 5 to 10 day program just based on that. And then that is meant to be base athletic training for absolutely every other sport that there could ever be. I think that would be really fun, and we're working on that. We're working on securing a location for Thailand, I believe in January. I have a friend who used to come to my aerial studio for many years and trained, and she now has a like retreat center in Thailand. She's dual citizenship, American Thai, and she has this retreat center she's been building for like 3 years, and it has aerial setups in it, and it's big and huge, and it's got hotel rooms, and it's beautiful. I have a call about that coming up, and it's across from like a white Buddhist temple, and we would like to do like a 5-day thing there in January. So we need about 20 people to make that economically viable. If anybody is interested in that, start telling me now, and we'll start putting up a sign up for that as well. That's going to be just super fun. That's just pure awesomeness. You need to do a lot of kettlebells, a lot of clubs. The thing that hurts people the most is shock load in the beginning. That's why we like to start with cheap wooden staffs before cold steel staffs. The cold steel staffs are octagonal, and just those little octagon sharp lines in the beginning tend to hurt people's hands in the beginning. So we like them to get through the first couple of days where they learn to do this instead of this, flat wrist instead of craned wrist. So they learn to absorb shock better without, losing hands or getting beat up. Let's do another question here. Jeremy McConnell. McConnell. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. He is currently using an 11.25 pound ADEX club, just focusing on single arm swings until he gets to the 15, then begin alternating between club workouts and kettlebell workouts. Do you think you should wait? Do I think that Jeremy should wait till he gets to the 15 pound with the club, or go ahead and start alternating with kettlebell workouts now? Jeremy, I would like to know what weight you're going to start with. Usually if you're at 11.25, you should be working on your inside circles, your outside circles for volume cycles, and then alternating heavy light with a density cycle. And once you get to 15, you should definitely start kettlebelling. Somebody sent me a video today of this excellent, very well presented, I believe, doctor talking about why people can't lose weight, and it's because they lack skeletal muscle in order to affect their metabolism. When we talk about training for absolutely everybody, whether it be deconditioned individuals or normal or like CrossFitters, I always focus on skeletal muscle and muscle chains, which is club swinging, which is kettlebells. You don't have to understand the science of stressing skeletal muscle to get that benefit from it. If you're swinging a heavy weight and you're doing it for longer and longer periods of time, you are affecting your skeletal muscle structure. And that has a very positive effect on your overall health, longevity, and metabolism. So if you're using an 11.25 now for inside circle, outside circle, and shield cast, start building it up, but go ahead and start working in kettlebells on your other days. Those two things together, inside circle, outside circle, shield cast, our deconditioned series, and then swings and clean and press are the base of absolutely everything in my mind. For the least amount of money, for the least amount of time. If there's a better solution out there, I would absolutely love to see what it is. I don't know what it could be. If there's a better idea, I would be super interested to find out. Gold the Cat used to have an old cold steel kukri for Bushcraft back in the UK. It was a great camp tool. Yes, cold steel machetes and kukris are super inexpensive. They are a good common man option. When we do machete versus machete training, we take cold steel machetes and we just run them along a grinder to take the sharp edge off of them so people don't lose fingers. They just break fingers if they really mess up. And cold steel machetes are good. I wish they had more of a full tang handle in them, but they are very solid. You can get through usually a couple of 100 hours of full contact before they snap off. And they always snap off right at the junction. Do I have cold steel machete sitting here? I don't. They're all in the truck. Right at the junction of the blade and the handle. They always snap right there. But they do not snap for a long time. And when I say we're beating the crap out of them, we are beating the crap out of them. Metal against metal, full power strikes. So I would say cold steel machetes, in my mind, are some of the best ones. I bought some Tramontinas because they're a famous name in machete. And the steel is not good anymore. I don't know what steel they're using, but cold steel machetes put dings in them on one swing, about a half an inch deep. Tramontinas now are no good. They will not stand up to the amount of abuse that we put them through. They have a full tang and wood slab handles, which I really wanted, but the steel quality is no longer good enough for them to be recommended for almost anything. They dull really fast and they just way too soft, way too soft. Mark, is there plans? This is from Josh Furate, Furrate. I gotta learn how to say names better. Are there plans to expand the two-hand heavy club program? Yes, there are. There is a 7 level by 8 exercise 56 move program that I have shot. I shot it myself on the side of a mountain last year. I don't know how good it is. It has been edited, but it hasn't been assembled. I currently the order of release of programs is we have Bodyweight 101 coming out next week. If I can actually shoot the promo for it, I just have to do it myself. I don't have a camera team or anything with me right now, and I'm trying to work it around hospital stuff. Need to find a cool place to shoot that. I don't know where to shoot that. And that program specifically focuses on moves that I don't see in other programs. It's not a complete program. It's meant to go with other programs. It'll complement kettlebells. It'll complement clubs. These are all designed to Tetris together to fill the gaps of other programs. And then we have 5 more bodyweight programs shot. And I would like to release them like every 6 weeks so we can build up a big repertoire of people learning how to get up off the ground. If you do the fast version of the program, it'll last 6 weeks. If you were to add something like plates to it, where's my plates? I don't know where my plates are. If you add plates to it, you can repeat it every time you add weight to the system. I am looking at options to add to that program all the way up to 80 pounds. I don't know if that'll work. I've never run it that heavy before. I have run those programs up to 40 pounds, but there is one piece of equipment that I want to try to run it up to 80 pounds. If it works, it'll be incredible. It'll be super badass. After that, then we could do the two-handed club expansion, or we could do Turkish Get Up Master. I don't know. Everybody's got to vote. I don't know where to direct my time between family and between production and between editing our daily videos. I definitely need help. I definitely need help, especially in editing. Some people had offered to read PDFs and help me proofread them because obviously I'm writing them, but I can't spell. I don't know if anybody has noticed that, but I'm always misspelling words, mispronouncing words. I do have learning disabilities and speech disabilities. And I'm trying to hammer through all this stuff as best I can. But yeah, I just need help to get it out. But yes, there is a giant expansion, taking the two-handed club program from 15 moves to 56 moves. That's 3 times bigger at least. No, it's definitely 3 times bigger. 350% bigger. Daniel Zollinger. Question: with coaching cues, how much jargon like order position do you allow yourself, and how much does this change between YouTube and in person? Good question. I tell a lot of bad jokes live. So much so that like Summer Huntington hates them. She hates my bad jokes. Most people hate my bad jokes when I coach live, especially if I'm coaching groups. I do a lot of bad like dad jokes, but I do try to stick with the most important parts of the coaching cues every time. But I try not to say order position. I try to say pin your elbow to your side, activate your lat, drive your shoulder away from your ear, and put your arm at a 90-degree angle. Everybody thinks that they're doing that. And when they train live, I do try to give each person an individual coaching cue on every round. So by the time you complete a weekend of training, like the seminar I just did with Summer Huntington, we did staff for an hour, then we did mace for an hour, then we did club for an hour. In club, we only focused on inside circle, outside circle, shield cast, inside pendulum, outside pendulum, alt 180 pullover, and then we did mill and reverse mill. All the two-handed versions, and then we did some of the basics of single hand based on how much time we had. But coaching the order position is very important, and I will repeat cues to an individual person until I find the cue that works for them. Not every cue works for everybody. What I really specialize in is breaking through to people in person and getting them to understand the cues. That is what I am good at, whether it be in aerial or whether it be in weapon stuff or whether it be in club or any of that stuff. I don't stick to any one perfect cue because there is no perfect cue for every situation. I change it. Will Troy Matthews, will you get the abs with singles, but you will see the abs with doubles and dieting? Yes, you will get abs no matter what if you do single arm and you go up in weight. Absolutely. Doubles usually allows people to burn more calories in the same amount of time because they're lifting heavier weights. Doubles tend to work better if you've already done a ton of singles, whether it be with kettlebells or with clubs, which is why I tell everybody, 3 years with singles for the most part before people go to doubles so that they have that base level of muscle and their joints have adapted before they start stacking on double load. If they have a bunch of previous athletic training, of course, that can change. If I don't know what their previous athletic training is or they cannot articulate it to me, then I stick with singles for a long period of time and I build up to try to get people to repeat more things and that cross-body load, and then I build in more movement patterns. But getting to doubles is a great way to burn more calories, and diet is, of course, great. I tend not to run down at 10% body fat. I tend to run at 16, 17% body fat, just because I've been a farmer or a construction worker my whole life. And if you work out every day and you're at 16, 17%, it's easy to get down lower. It takes 2-3 weeks tops to get down. But currently, with the state of the world, I'm not super interested in being super thin. I would rather carry a little bit of extra right now, just until, the world is less terrifying and more stable. All that would be great in my mind. Colin Clifford. I don't know how you guys are sending me money. I got to look this up. Thank you, Colin, for donating. Hey, man, thanks for what you do. You're totally changed the way I approach training. That is the idea. We are trying to get people to answer the engineering equation. Are you planning or already have videos on farmers, suitcase carries, and different variations? Yes. I normally don't do a lot of that because it is hard for people to do farmers carries if they live in apartment buildings. Like I've lived in a lot of crappy apartment buildings in places like LA where you don't have the space. You tend to be limited to things like swing, clean and press, mill, reverse mill, two-hand club program, and step back lunges. But yes, I would like to talk about doing more farmers carries. I need to get myself a really long tape measure, and I want to go out in the road out here in the middle of the country and measure out 200 meters down and 200 meters back for a 400 meter carry. And then I want to time the 400 meter carry. I'm just telling you the whole idea for the video. I want to do the 400 meter carry down and back. And then I want to adapt that to somebody who has no space. So Bells of Steel, who sent me my last set of adjustable competition kettlebells, which are absolutely fantastic. And I'm super in love with those things. And I wish I had them 30 years ago. They just sent me a flat pack box. And I want to time my 400 meter farmer's carry. And then for people who have no space, I want to do some version of a step up on the box for that same length of time as a replacement for farmer's carry. Kind of just told you the whole idea. I'm still going to make the video anyway because I want to do it because I think it's going to be fun. But yes, we will make videos on that. I don't think I'm going to do all the weird versions of carries just because I don't think we really need to. I think normal farmer's carry or normal step up will be fine. I think we should also do a version of that that doesn't use a box because a box is, more expensive. And I'm going to do a version of that with bricks. With just bricks because they're $1.50 a piece and you can stack them up and adjust the height, but still do a stepping pattern where you're replicating a much smaller step so people can start at a lower height and build up. We were going to put that in the exercises for deconditioned individuals, but I don't think it really has to go there. I think that can go and apply to anybody because it's really a time under tension protocol. But thank you, Colin Clifford, very much. Golda Cat, he's excited for the 7-8 program. He says, take my money with a swear word in front. I'm trying, man. always trying to get stuff out, but I have to pick and choose around family obligations and everything else. Creaky Gate, fun name. Any advice on exercises for frozen shoulder? Don't want to give up kettlebell training if possible. Define frozen shoulder, Creaky Gate. Does that mean your shoulder won't extend overhead? Have you been doing shoulder therapy with bands, inside rotations and outside rotations? I say get an 8X and start with a light weight, 3.5 pounds, and run volume cycles and density cycles. Every time you catch a single arm club in inside circle and outside circle, you are doing shoulder therapy. As you volume cycle up, you encourage your body to release frozen shoulders. That is the way that I did it. I don't know what your specific issue is, but that is the base recommendation for everything like that. The difference between people who are injured and people who are generally healthy and driving athleticism up tends to only be weight for the most part, at the base level. Of course, there are much more advanced athletic programs later on. Here's a good one. Gary Solovina. Can someone squat too low? I try to keep my feet pointed forward since I don't have a sport specific need, but sometimes I feel discomfort in the knee if I kettlebell squat heavy enough. I don't think you can squat too low. My friend Tara, who has a YouTube channel, God, what's the name of her YouTube channel? She does a lot of, she's super flexible, ex-professional gymnast, no, ex-advanced gymnast, ex-professional dancer, and she's like 5'2", and when we're like do videos together, it's hilarious because we're so missized, but we think we're the same size in our head. She squats all the way down to the ground, sits down, rocks back, stands up. That is what a normal range of motion is all the way down till your tailbone touches the ground, and you should be able to do that under intermediate load. One of the reasons I've never been a fan of barbell back squat is the way that people alter their structure in order to do it. I would love to see people move towards like dinosaur training with kettlebells. Dinosaur training was this old idea. What was that guy's name? He just squatted and deadlifted these massive amounts of weight, but he had a big squat cage, like a Rogue Monster rack that's a square, and he would set the bars at a specific height, and he would set his weight super high, hundreds of pounds, way up there, and he would squat it only down an inch, and he would do that for X amount of time, and then he would lower those bars down an inch, and he would over time squat a little bit lower and a little bit lower, but with these absolutely massive weights. I like that idea adapted towards something like double kettlebells, but then lowering the height of that box down lower and lower and lower. With something like a super heavy double kettlebell, I think maybe 10 inches off the ground is probably about as low as you need to go. But I definitely know athletes who have better knees than me who can get all the way down with super incredibly heavy double loads. I just can't seem to do it anymore. Or more importantly, I'm not really willing to push it that hard anymore. I think we just had a glitch on this thing. But yes, I think that you can keep squatting lower and lower. And if you are working with really heavy descending box squat, sit all the way down, rock back, pick off the ground, force everything to turn on, your abs to turn on and stabilize, put your feet on the ground all the way up. Double kettlebell front squats on a box squat, I think are fantastic. And if you have access to heavier and heavier kettlebells, I do not see how any barbell squat could top that. Barbell, you can lift more weight, but I think the dynamics of the movement are not as good. Just my opinion. Obviously, there are many power lifters who will disagree with me on that vehemently, and that is totally fine. Everybody is comfortable with what they like to work with. I think that double kettlebell front squat is the best load for a squat if you're trying to go really heavy. There's the least possible number of ways that you can screw it up on accident. You can't deviate, arch your back. You have to be in a straight line. But for the most part, we just don't, most people don't have access to heavy enough kettlebells to push that training the way it is. I would love to make specific equipment for that. And if I ever get, $100,000 to work on that specific idea, I will totally solve that equipment problem and make that a totally viable squat system. Right now, I just don't think that there is the best equipment for that particular idea. Dale Everdale, my 24 kilograms are 3 pounds different. I move around the pair to alterate like you showed recently. Yes. Even competition kettlebells, if they come from different factories, will weigh slightly different. My Kettlebell Kings competition adjustable kettlebells, the shells are slightly different in weight. So much so that I can feel it, and I rotate back and forth. This morning I was doing double 29K long cycles. I'm doing very low numbers, very long breaks right now because I'm trying to get my knee, my left knee in particular, to stay in track. So I'm not pushing it towards failure. I'm giving myself a ton of break right now, but yeah, you can feel them. They're slightly different. Even though all the plates are the same and they're adjusted, one bell is definitely a pound heavier than the other one. And I cycle back and forth, odd facing one way, even number sets facing the other way. Because they are different. So if you're going to buy kettlebells, try and buy them from the same company if at all possible, and try to buy them in the same year if at all possible. That's obviously not possible. I have kettlebells from wildly different years, but then they tend to come out more similar. Usually there'll be a few ounces off, but not pounds off. 3 pounds is a pretty big jump for error in a 24K. Adrian Solinsky started with 1 club bell, 6 kilogram, did some pullovers, casting, etc. for about 10 minutes each. After a week of a fun ride, I got my golfer's elbow, something back. Did you go too heavy or what? Absolutely, you went too heavy. More importantly, you went way, way too long. 10 minutes each is way too much time. 10 minutes is the goal. People's muscles are stronger than their joints, especially if they're already fit and in shape. If they come from some other type of training like gym training, their muscles are much, much stronger than their joints. The reason we harp on volume cycles and density cycles, and we want everybody to start at 6 sets of 5 and go 8 sets of 5, 10 sets of 5, 12 sets of 5. And if they have golfer's elbow, we go 6 to 7 sets to 8 sets to 9 sets to 10 sets. So we double the length of the program, is because everybody's joints are weaker than their muscles unless they've been doing this for a long period of time. That is a problem, especially with fit athletes. They're strong enough to do the movements and they're athletic, so they've learned to push. The problem is the lever affects your joints differently than dumbbells do or barbells do or machines do, and their joints fry out. The reason we talk about volume cycles is because we're trying to get people to start at 6 sets of 5, which is not long at all. It should be 2 minutes or something like that. It's very short. And then we build up towards 10 sets of 5. 20 sets of 5 should take 7 minutes and 30 seconds to 8 minutes, depending on the weight. Doing 10 minutes of something means your volume is way too high for your elbows to adapt to in the beginning. Think you're building up to 20 sets of 5. Think you're trying to get to 7 minutes and 30 seconds for an exercise, alternating back and forth. Pushing it to a full 10 minutes is something that's much more advanced. Much more advanced. You need to do your volume cycle, 20 sets of 5, to your density cycle to 10 sets of 10. Then you need to go up a weight. When you've done it all that over again, you go back down a weight, then you go to time under tension. Otherwise, you will definitely fry either your wrist joints, your shoulder joints, or your elbow joints. Mostly people's back doesn't break down that fast, but elbow joints, especially if people have done a lot of bicep curls and their elbow joints don't fully extend anymore, because they're maintaining tension from the type of training they're doing, you have to let your elbows adapt. Your elbows are the limiting factor in something like heavy clubs. The reason we combine heavy clubs and kettlebells together is because they traction the elbow joint and the shoulder joint in different ways to help people keep from getting injured. It is a slow progression for people who are already athletic. They get frustrated at it, but the goal is to stay alive and to get good and to not get hurt. So yes, Adrian, you did go too long. You need to go back and start over, and go back to a volume cycle and make those numbers low. But you're going to have to take time off now that you've pushed your elbow too far. You're going to have to relax it. You're going to have to do your therapy, and you're going to have to, get your elbow back to fully extended, work on your locust stretch and do your rotational exercises for your elbow to make sure that you're not frying out those things in your upper forearm right there, your connection points. Hazel Mains, any plans to include an eye component to club training? Eye movement and focus relating to how the club moves. Lots of people focus on the screen at set distance for long periods of time. Yeah. I think in a lot of my older videos, I have talked about that. Look at the tip of the club as it goes through. That's mainly to keep people from hitting themselves in the face. The eye component of training is something. There was a great trainer who died last year down in San Diego who did tons of stuff with eye blocking and eye movement. He was a Z Health practitioner. I did some videos with him, Chris. I'm forgetting his last name. Forgive me, Chris's family, for forgetting his last name. I would like to do eye component training. I do it as part of weapons training. And we do, because you're looking at a weapon coming at you in the beginning, we have people only focus on the head to limit the number of things so that people don't panic. If somebody's trying to hit them in the ankle in the beginning, it's way too soon. We focus only on the head, and then people learn to track incoming things and they learn to block. And then at a certain point, we start to block one eye, which is super fun. We put an eye patch over one eye and we have them repeat the drills over again. So one eye starts to get stronger individually. Then we repeat the training with the other eye covered. People learn to move their head differently. They learn to rotate their body more towards the target. There's all kinds of super fun eye stuff we do, which I consider to be the poor man's violent version of Z Health. For people who aren't familiar with Z Health is this massive, absolutely massive system of like joint mobility. We do a 3-minute version of what they take an hour to do. Because I don't know anybody outside of professional athletes who have an hour to do something like joint mobility, but there is all kinds of stuff with eye focus that can fix a lot of movement issues and a lot of stuff. Z Health goes into this in great, awesome, magnificent detail. I just accomplish it in a different way. I accomplish it while trying to shove it into athletic training for the basic human movement patterns, because I'm always trying to solve that engineering equation. But yes, we have a whole section of eye stuff. I've just never made any videos on it, but I will try at some point to do it. It's mostly just theory and nerd stuff. They're not really sexy, cool videos at all. At all. It's really just blocking somebody's eye and making them repeat weapons training over again from static, attack, defend, 1-to-1, 2-to-2, 3-to-3, over and over and over again. And over time, each eye individually learns to do things and they move their head in different ways. It's a super cool thing. We also used to do it in aerial, where we would learn aerial and then we would block one eye and repeat it. Really will mess you up, really messes you up. And then eventually you go to full blindfolded aerial. My friend Selkie did that all the time, and she is bonkers. And she will go up and climb and do a 30-foot act totally blindfolded, which I never got good enough to do. I never got beyond blocking one eye because I've fallen, so I am inherently super afraid of doing my own sport, which is aerial, and generally terrified of it, and it does hurt. And if I mess it up, I don't want to die again. If I mess it up one more time, I definitely die. Next epoch skills. Next epoch skills. Next epoch skills. Question: how do you know when it's time to increase weight for the Turkish Get Up? Good question. Usually I let people build up towards completing 10 minutes of it. If they still feel shaky, I will have them start that cycle over again. This is the same way we'll do things with kettlebells and clubs. If they feel shaky and they don't feel confident with it, we start back over and we start back with 3 minutes of time under tension and we rebuild it. That gives a giant step down phase of training so that people have a built-in rest phase. It's very similar to what they do in barbells, where they work very hard for 4 weeks and they have a deload week for 1 week, and then they start a new program. Same general idea. Start at 3 minutes, go to 3 minutes, 30 seconds, go to 4 minutes, build up towards 10 minutes with a weight. If you don't have a small jump in weight, if you only have big jumps in weight, then you would repeat that cycle over again. And then you would have a heavy day where you do 1 and 1 and set it down and take a break. 1 and 1, set it down and take a break. And then that would become a volume cycle. You have to jump when you think it's appropriate. I'm not quite clear on if there's a mathematical way to do it. Like in time under tension programs, like slam ball, and like upcoming body weight programs, like in two-handed heavy club, all time under tension designs. When your when your percent change approaches 0 after 6 workouts, then that's when you would jump. Turkish Get Up is much weirder. There's not really a good way to determine that I know of. If anybody knows of a great mathematical way to determine when to jump Turkish Get Up, I would love to hear it. I just don't know. I have people repeat things until they feel confident and they can hold structure the entire time, but that can be very subjective to the athlete themselves. Dan Elisaid. Dan Elisaid. Can you talk about achieving a pancake in terms of flexibility? Yes, you definitely should do it. Pancake, sit on the ground, legs wide, put your chest towards the ground. What most people do is they hunch their back and they try to bring their head towards their belly button. Your head needs to go away. You need to lengthen your spine and reach your spine out overhead until you get flat all the way to the ground. Everybody should be able to get flat all the way to the ground. That is not an extreme human range of movement, but because people have lived in the modern world and we are all victims of our culture's success, we are chair-shaped and we lose an ability to do that. Most people don't do martial arts, so they didn't do kicking training, which allows people to have a little bit more control over their hips, the way that clubs gives you control over your shoulders. Tips for achieving a pancake: hold it for at least 4 minutes. Every minute, move your elbows further away from you and extend your chest towards the ground. There are also some really fun things that we should do with bands, where you would hook a band around something stable and you would have the band pull you out, and then you would do a scapular retraction to activate your lats, and those lats go down and pull into your hips. And you would do sets of that scapular retraction with arms extended overhead in that position. Every time you do it, you will feel your chest get pulled closer to the ground. Super fun stuff. That's a low money way to do it. But I think that that's an absolutely fantastic exercise and you should definitely do it. What are your thoughts on monkey bars as an exercise? When should I incorporate them into a workout? I love monkey bars, but almost nobody has monkey bars. Like Combate Fitness in LA used to have a giant monkey bar set up, and they got rid of it just because nobody was using it and they wanted to use that section for a big muscle up section. So monkey bar sections almost nobody has. And, you know, I wish that they were 30 feet long, but I don't know of any place that has a 30-foot monkey bar section, except for maybe like the Ninja Gym in Albuquerque has them. I think there's one in Georgia now, in Atlanta. But I would love monkey bars. There's so much cool stuff you can do with monkey bars, especially from an aerialist perspective, more than just monkey barring across. But monkey bar, hook a leg, go to a knee, go the other way, turn. Essentially, it becomes traveling static trapeze. And there's so much cool stuff you could do with it. But for the most part, in order to build a rig that big, you're looking at several $1,000s. Think about stacking up monster rigs and then connecting them and then having all the monkey bar sections in between. I love monkey bars, but I don't know anybody who has a big enough thing to use it the way that I would want to use it. If you have access to it, I would say throw it in twice a week. You can survive almost anything twice a week around other training. That's why we talk about the Tetris of training. You can stack up 10 different training ideas in a week if you Tetris them. All you have to do is do them on non-successive days, and it'll accidentally work out. You track each one, and you do a progressive program for each one, totally fine. Well, if you're doing heavy deadlift or heavy kettlebell swings that day, have it be a light monkey bar day. And then on your light swing day, light deadlift day, have it be a heavy monkey bar day. And you could set that up as time under tension. You could set it up as traversing with breaks in the middle. Most people can't survive monkey bars because their hands, they don't have the grip for it. But if you do kettlebells and clubs, you'll have a bunch of the grip for it. You'll have the base level grip for it for sure. You'll definitely have it. One of the things that I absolutely love, but nobody has it, is stall bars. You know, Rogue has a stall bar setup that they put in their monster rack. Stall bars are dope. It's basically a vertical ladder that's wider than your body, and you should be able to put your hands all the way up overhead and hang with straight arms without your feet touching the ground. That's how high they have to be. Especially for somebody my size. I'm like 6'1", 6'2", 240 pounds. I need like a Rogue metal stall bar. I had a wooden stall bar that I bought, desperate to want to do stall bar training for improving circus stuff. I bought one, too small. It's meant for somebody who's 5'2". The wooden ones, I ripped mine off the wall and I bolted mine to the wall with like 17 anchors just from the weight of my body and the leverage of me trying to accelerate into these inverts and stuff. I eventually absolutely have to have a Rogue monster rack with a giant stall bar setup. I just don't have anywhere to put it right now. And I would love to have one, but I don't have the money for it right now. I would love to have a giant steel building with all of my stuff in it, with aerial gear and stall bars and monkey bars and vaulting blocks. So much cool stuff you can do with vaulting blocks. I did find an economic solution to vaulting blocks, and I am going to make videos on it once I get the equipment. We'll do a box opening for that like next week if it actually comes in. And I have a huge, super badass vaulting training program that I did. It's a time under tension protocol, which is an expansion of body weight training, which is all about getting over obstacles. We originally wrote it for an actor. We were training at Warner Brothers in London, and we had a bar that was in the gym. It was like from a set or something. And so what we were doing is we were doing a program of getting over the bar and then hitting stuff, doing fight training, non-choreographed fight training, and then jumping back over the bar. Super duper fun. So I was always looking for a way to recreate that training in an economical way, and I think I found the solution for it. And yes, I am a nerd, and I'm super duper excited about it. It's so cool. It's fun. I love that type of training. It is super fun. Corey Bantic Fire. For an injury or weakness to just one side, would you work specifically for just that one side? Got kettlebells 5 pounds and 7 pound mace today. They have scoliosis and thoracic outlet syndrome. I'm familiar with scoliosis, but I am not quite sure what thoracic outlet syndrome is. I believe that it is a twisting of the spine in 2 different directions, but I'll have to look that one up. What you should do is start with your bad side, whatever your weak side is, and then you match it with your strong side. You never train the 2 sides of your body with different weights, especially if you already have an imbalance. Never, ever. You will only make your problems way worse. Start with your weak side, run your cycles, inside circle, outside circle, swings, single hand swings, clean and press, deck squats. If you have those issues, I would push deck squats into year 2. And you would, whatever your weak side does, you start with that side and you run a volume cycle. You match the 2 sides. Your strong side will not be getting a lot of work in the beginning. That is fine. The point is to make the sides of your body the same. Imbalances in strength on either side of your spine cause injury. They age you, they will mess you up. So start with your weak side. Train to your weak side. You're gonna have to take the time and do it properly and build up until they are the same. That is what's going to improve your quality of life. Using different weights on different sides or trying to do more with your weak side to get it to catch up to your strong side, never do that. Whatever you do with your weak side, match it with your strong side exactly, and then build up the weak side, match it to the strong side, build up the weak side, match it to the strong side. The goal is to create as much symmetry as possible. I will be super curious how your scoliosis develop or how your scoliosis deals with it. I have seen people with scoliosis do club training and mace training and fix like 95% of their scoliosis just from balancing both sides of their body and getting the movement patterns to work the same way. It takes more time because you're starting from a deficit. You're starting from things that aren't already centrally located. So you're working a lot on balancing out these different types of rotation and rebuilding these movement patterns. And then you would go from the static 2-foot stable position and you would work on all your basics with kettlebells and clubs. And then you would start moving towards the Discobolus of Myron exercises. I should probably turn that series into an actual program. I'll put it on the list. One of 17 other products I need to complete and finish. But yes, do not train your strong side differently than your weak side. Start with your weak side, balance them. Balance, balance, balance. The only reason I can walk is because I did that. I ripped my leg in half. I was extremely injured. My left leg atrophied all the way up to a bone. My whole body shifted to one side, the stabilizing side. And then you just have to start shoving it back to the center and force the weight pressure on each foot to be equal. There are a bunch of tricks on how to do that. And eventually I will make programs on exactly how to do that. It's just buried deep inside of this single arm club training program for symmetrical feet. Discobolus of Myron is a secondary version of single arm club training. But basically you're gonna end up doing all of your club training on a balance board. If you dip one way, you're pressing too hard with one leg, you have to learn to stay in the balance while swinging weights, and that will force you to the center and get you closer and closer and closer to activating your spine equally on both sides. Short version of that. Exiled Masshole. I think you asked a question last week. Question, mobility program. Got any advice for shin box lunges? Really, really hard to get my butt off the ground without momentum and sit through legs. Left leg toes won't point up and sit through legs. Left leg toes won't point. Okay. Get seated in your shin box with your hip off the ground and do front club presses. We call those shin box gun presses. When you press out, it will activate one corner of your body. And then you have both left and right hand high for each side of the body. There are actually 4 versions of that exercise. By loading the press in and out, you will activate everything in your core and you will cause your hip to fire. And by loading it like that, you are going to encourage it to try to find its the position at which it can relax. How am I saying that right? The position at which it can exert the least amount of energy. So usually shin box gun presses is the first recommendation in that series. Usually we do the hip mobility series, windshield wiper, shin box with your hands back, shin box with your hands forward as a warm up to that. Then we go into something like gun presses in the shin box position, and then usually we go back to shin box and then to 4-point drill. Usually that's how we work that cycle, and we would work that into training usually 2 to 3 days a week. Tetris it in somewhere, usually in a warm-up section or in a mid section, not in a late section. Usually people are too tired to maintain the core musculature if it's a late in section. And repeat that program for several months and see if that works. Not knowing your situation or what it looks like, that would be the base recommendation would be gun press and shin box. In the sit through leg, left leg toes won't point up. Point up? I wouldn't point them up anyway. I would point them straight ahead. Pointing them up is a ton of internal rotation if I understand what you're saying correctly. Yeah, start with that. Let me know how that goes. I would start with sit through hip, of course, and then do tons of cycles of sit through hip, and then go to sit through leg, and then go to sit through leg to dancer's bridge, and then sit through leg to push up. Did I misorder those? Sit through hip, sit through leg push up, sit through leg dancer's bridge, and then combine the sit through leg push up to the sit through leg dancer's bridge. Five versions of that for that exact exercise. Is hydrocore worth the time investment if you already do a lot of club, mace, and kettlebell? From your dad's husband. Great name. Love you guys' names. I think so. Hydrocore to me is slightly less perfect on the economic equation. A kettlebell in a club will always be the best possible thing because they'll survive a fire or a tsunami. They will outlast civilization. Hydrocore is made of materials that can degrade, especially if you do stupid things like leave them full of water in a blizzard. My fault. Not the fault of the product, definitely my fault. But I think that they encourage different types of rotation. So anything that is a swinging weight with rotation, I think is a good idea that you should spend some time on. The better you get at that, the better you get at everything, the better you balance out the sides of your spine. I think that it is definitely worth the time and the money, 100%. And I love to take it when I travel. I just went on a trip. I went to teach a seminar, and then I ended up in LA, and then that trip got extended. And then I went and did a giant editing class so I can try to make better videos that are higher quality in a short period of time. And I had the hydrocore because it goes in your backpack and you can check it on. I don't use the hydrocore every day. I use the hydrocore in bursts when I travel. That way, it's outside of your normal training program, and when you come back to it, it is a shock to the system. It is almost like doing muscle confusion without doing muscle confusion. That idea of muscle confusion from something like P90X, where you're trying to do different stuff every day. We try to do muscle confusion by doing progressive training and changing our Tetris block positions throughout the week, but still develop skill. The problem with pure muscle confusion is that it doesn't develop skill if you're just doing random stuff all the time. At some point, you have to do something long enough to get good at it, and then you need to change the order or the weights in order to change things around. We will be releasing an idea called the Workout of the Week. If we could come up with a better name, we would. Wow. I don't know what to call it. Workout of the Week is wow. I don't know if that's great, or Wildman Workout of the Week, which is still wow. Where we're going to take all the stuff from all the other programs and put them into a weekly Metcon. And that's going to go in a whole different idea where that is considered a kicker, which is more like a muscle confusion idea, but based on skills that you should already be good at. I do think I want to shove hydrocore and stuff like that into that, but I need to make a bunch of versions of that idea first that only use kettlebells, clubs, and maces, because that's what most people have, and slam ball. And then we'll start laying in something like slam ball later, or something like hydrocore later. Could a shot put ball be used as a training tool effectively for techniques like mills, reverse mills, etc.? A shot put ball for mills? No, I wouldn't think so. There is an entire program based on shot put from Jeff Martone that came out in like 2006. Jeff Martone is the guy who first kind of laid out, as I understand it, this idea of not quite kettlebell juggling, but of time under tension, lighter kettlebell full hand release movements. And it was a great program. I mean, it was super innovative for the time, using lighter kettlebells where you would do waiters cleans, around the leg step back waiter clean, around the body waiter clean, around the head, all these super cool stuff. And they were laid out as a time under tension program. Great program. And then he had a program where he did the same general idea with shot put balls. I don't think that they would work well for mills or reverse mills, but you would end up with a severe tiger claw. I did do versions of that training back when I was trying to figure out what the best things were. I went through a whole phase of doing kung fu forms, Shaolin long fist kung fu forms, one of the better versions of martial arts that I have done. They're very kind of weird and esoteric when they get to the high level, but at the base level of the Tantues, they are pure basic athletic movement. And when you think of something like Shaolin Kung Fu, the basic forms of that are CrossFit from 1,000 years ago. And then we added to that cylindrical bricks of extending lengths. So everything was held in like a tiger claw position. That would be something super fun to do with shot put that I had never considered. I always just did the traditional hardcore Chinese stuff, which was round concrete bricks or round concrete stones. But shot put could work for that. I don't think it would work well as something like mill and reverse mill, but hey, I could be wrong. Give it a shot. I don't have a shot put ball. But if I did, maybe I'll look it up and I'll try it out and see if that is a good idea or not. Greg 74 ETA for release of training for overweight or deconditioned injured individuals program. No, I shot a bunch of it, but it's in the queue. It just has to be finished, edited, and put out. And I've shot a ton of stuff. I shot like 10 programs. Doing the edit and color chopping it up and uploading it and all that other stuff is where I get stuck, because I tend to be in places that don't have good upload speed. So that tends to be a pretty big problem for me. But I am trying. It has not been forgotten. It is in the list. I am just trying to get through it and keep my family alive and everything else. Genix 105. She might be over. He might be overusing chalk. Georgia's summer is wet and bad. I would not be using chalk in Georgia in the summer for clubbing or macing in any way. The second you start to sweat, that chalk is going to turn into gross, super slippery slime. Chalk only works if you can keep it dry. If you're in a place with 100% humidity and it's 100 degrees outside and you're sweating your face off, I would find something else to do. Chalk tends to be bad in that situation. I know, because I did it and I lost the club and it flew and it went through a wall. Liam Mullick loves the idea of doing clubs, kettlebell, single, and doubles and sandbags. Any idea for putting all of this into a Tetris training idea? Yeah. Do each one of them twice a week. Liam, send me that question on like a comment after this, and I'll see if I can't make a video about that. I need to make some program analysis videos coming up this week. So if people want to send me program analysis this week, I would love to do it. I have a great one that I didn't have a whiteboard for, but it was like super duper long. This guy sent me some super elaborate, super badass program. I just could not find a whiteboard big enough to even do his layout on at that point. I tried to use a giant glass, like 4x8 sheet of glass, but you could see through it and you couldn't see it in the edit, so I had to trash it. Mark, you should do a Discord. Make a Discord. There is a Discord. We have a Lord of the Discord. There's a whole Discord page on this stuff already. Lord of the Discord, if you're still listening, he showed up earlier. We have a guy we've dubbed the Lord of the Discord because it's one more thing that I can't quite keep track of right now between family and travel and everything else. But yeah, there is already a Discord out there. It's Grant Gardner is going to try to drop a link in right now. Grant Gardner is the Lord of the Discord. And I just named it Lord of the Discord because it's super duper fun to say that. And it's fun to say the Lord of the Discord and to call Grant Lord of the Discord. Sure thing, Eggy the Mary. Eggy the Mary, glad to help. Grant, yeah, guys, start a new subthread for new arrivals at the Discord. That would be great. Mike S. Not sure if you watch any of Ben Patrick's knees over toes guy, if you do thoughts on ideas on his techniques. I still haven't watched a video of his yet. I listened to about 30 minutes of his Joe Rogan podcast. I would love to know more about it, but I don't know where to start. It's kind of like people starting with my videos. The question is, where do you start? You start with the ones with the most views, I guess. I just haven't made time to sit down and watch it because I'm tracking so many things at a time. If people would like to send me links of the exact videos they think I should watch to comment on, I would absolutely love to do it. I always like to see what other trainers think is important and how they are answering their equation. How much time does it take? How much equipment does it take? Where can it be done? I love to answer those questions. I don't know about what he uses or what he tries to do. I know he's very popular currently. I have a method by which I fixed my knee, and that method is slowly being rolled out of the course of hundreds of videos and bunches of programs. But I would love to see his videos. I mean, my knee does hurt. You know, I did rip my leg in half. I would love to do even more specific exercises if they fit into a specific time frame. There is no way I'm going to do a 45-minute a day knee program at all. No way. I do not have time for that. I wake up, I kettlebell, I club, I stretch, I move forward. I work on my movement patterns. If I really want to have fun and there's people around, we do weapons fight training because that is what I consider the most basic human movements. And I feel super good if I do that stuff all the time. But I know that there were some things he was talking about, dragging sleds back. I heard that on Joe Rogan. I don't have a sled. I got to find a sled. Somebody's got to recommend me a good, cheap sled that I can drag down a country road. And I know that there were some things about box step downs, which is something that we've done in training for a long time anyway. I do that as a warm up before long cycle using just a normal height step, which is like 8 inches, and standing on it, holding a kettlebell and rack and stepping down to your heel touches the ground and standing back up and locking out your leg. I think I heard somebody talk about in a comment section about doing that. I would love to see that. If you guys want to send me links or you want to put links in the comments of this live after this live is over, it'll go up and it'll go into the list of lives on YouTube, and then you can comment on it. Send me links. Send me links in any video. I don't know. I would love to find out more about everybody's training. Obviously, I'm mildly obsessed with training, and I've turned it into my entire life, trying to make people's lives better. So I am always interested in some version of somebody else's training. I love many other types of training. Just most of them don't meet my engineering equation of meeting economics and time. If I'm not big on somebody's training, it's not that it's not good. It's just that I don't see people as having that much time because I don't have that much time. If a program falls outside of my ability to do, then I don't think that it's going to be inside normal people's ability to do, common people's ability to do. I myself am a common person. I've worked in a lot of fancy places with a lot of fancy people, but I am a guy who grew up on a dirt road, and I still, do farm work and weed whack. And, I just spent 2 hours today weed whacking outside of all the other things I was doing. Wake up, work out, fix the fence line, check the electric fence. If I can't find a time to do the program, then nobody else will. Dan Elliside. I gotta figure out how to say these names. Have I ever thought about doing a series of videos where you have characters, physiques, and skills as a model for specific exercises, i.e. Brock Samson and Hercules? I mean, we could totally do that. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Brock Samson is one of my great heroes. Brock Samson is a character from the show The Venture Brothers, and I have seen every episode of The Venture Brothers probably 15 times. If somebody makes a butterfly joke to me, I will definitely laugh at it. Butter glider jokes are definitely approved. I would like to do that. I would like to do some responses to the Bioneers Batman videos. Obviously, when I was a kid, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I did have Batman comics, which is what kind of started me on the whole idea, specifically Batman Nightfall. After Batman had his back broken by Bane, and he recovered and then took back the mantle of the Bat from Azrael. Yes, I am this nerdy, and yes, I know this whole story very thoroughly. I would love to do that. a series of videos kind of answering the Pioneers Batman athleticism videos, but do it from a redneck point of view. I love the Pioneer. The Pioneer to me is like what a trainer should be in very many ways, and his editing skills are way better than mine. I'm trying to get up towards that guy's level because that guy is killing it. And he communicates information in a very good way. But I would like to do like a response, like Batman for the common man, that kind of stuff, and rehabbing for injuries like that, but without billions of dollars. And by the way, guys, I am that nerdy. If you guys want to talk about comic books, I will also talk about comic books. None of the new stuff. All the new stuff is terrible. All the old stuff is great. So here we go. Eric Parker, Brock Sampson. He's throwing me out Brock Sampson lines. +1 for Pioneer, +1 for Pioneer response video. Love the Pioneer. I just need to be able to sit down and actually be able to think about it and lay it out properly, and I have not had that much time. Andy H. We have an autistic kid in our martial arts class for a few years. We do silent classes for him. Excellent. Training autistic kids will teach you a ton about how to not be a shitty coach. Most people are not great coaches. Most of the coaches I've seen, almost every aerial coach I've ever had was not a good coach. I've seen many bad martial arts coaches. Being able to teach an autistic kid and teach without words or teach in like low light environments, all these other things are definitely how you become a much better coach. Hey, it's Mace Pick, Matthew Hamilton from Texas. Been working on the kettlebell Turkish Get Up 36K times 10 for the past couple of years. I don't have access to a 40K or a 44K, but my gym has a 48K. Ideas on how to increase the challenge. If you're working with a 40K, that is a big kettlebell, and that takes a long time because if you do mess up something over 40K, it will rip your elbows in half. So can you expand on that idea, Matthew? You want to jump to the 48K? What you would do would be break it down into pieces, and you would start doing something like a clean and a jerk to get it up overhead. And then you would do 1 and 1 and you would set it down, and you would do that and you would build up a volume cycle of that. And then you would evolve that clean, get it overhead, lock out, step back with the opposite leg, put your knee on the ground, use a pad, otherwise your knee's gonna grind to dust. Stand all the way up, do it on the other side, set it down. With a big weight like that, you're gonna need to rest for 2 minutes, 3 minutes probably with that huge jump. That is a big, heavy weight. And then you start adding one step at a time until you build a Turkish Get Up. You're not gonna probably be able to start with a full Turkish Get Up and maintain good structure. Break it down, start with the clean, get to the jerk, do a volume cycle with long breaks. It's going to be a 30-minute program to get to 10 sets. And then you're going to start adding one step at a time and build it up. It's going to take a long time to get a good structure with the 48K for a Turkish Get Up, because if you mess up with that weight, it is unforgiving. It will rip you apart. Guys, let's close this out in about 3 minutes here. Cal Elijah. Mark, can you help me understand at which point scapular progression and lat engagement is most important doing mills? Is most important doing mills, 360 cross body clean swings. It's during the pull. The lat engagement, when the club swings out for the mill and you start to pull it towards your body, you pull with your shoulder first, which is a lat engagement first. When you're doing your 360s, think when you're catching an order position, drive your shoulders down and squeeze your lats as hard as possible. The cross body clean, it's once again, think about driving your shoulder down and squeezing the lat in the catch. Those are the best places. Focus on the lat during the pull or during the catch. During the mill, do it during the pull. On everything else, do it during the catch. That is the absolute best way to think about it in the beginning. Focus on it. Take 2 seconds, 1 1,000, 2 1,000 to squeeze the lat during each one of those reps, then move to the next rep. All right, guys, we're at an hour and a half again. We're really killing this every week. I'm trying to keep this under an hour and a half because I got to go upstairs, make dinner, and go out to the barn and feed the horses and clean stalls. So thank you everybody for coming. If I didn't answer your question this week, come back. We'll keep answering questions. I can do this forever. I am a huge nerd and I love doing these questions because it allows me to understand your thought process and your thought process and my thought process better. We can do this forever, and I love your guys' questions. You guys ask great questions, and I love to think about this stuff, and I'll think about this for the next 2 days. If you have program design stuff, put it into the program, into the comments after this thing posts live. We're going to stop this video. It's going to process, and it's going to come up on the live, and then throw all of your extra stuff in there. We're going to have to cut it off right now because also this device is about to die because we have ran it to death. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and come again next week. And Mace Ape's shirt from Australia. And yeah, let's keep doing it. Thanks, guys.